Hi, everyone. Welcome to Green Party Tea Time. I got a different setup going on here. Still trying to figure out everything. For some unknown reason, all my videos haven't doing what they were supposed to be doing. So we're just going to keep rolling with it and try new things. I'll probably have to take some suggestions up from other folks that were telling me about different platforms to use and posting the video. So might do that. We shall see. But it is Sunday, December 1st, 2021. I'm sorry, December 21st, 2025. And this is the last Sunday before the holidays. And people are kind of happy, kind of sad about it, everything, because we still know that we are going through some horrible times, especially overseas, in Gaza and Palestine and Sudan and Tigray and Haiti. Many of these places are still going through things that we cannot forget about just because we think that things are over. When people say that there is a truce, a treaty, a ceasefire, that's not the time to disengage. That's not the time to step away from your activism. That is the time to ramp it up to make sure that these things stick. So, that being said, thank you for everyone who is doing the good work of keeping that going, that momentum going, and not backing down. Because if we stop, then we are still at risk for having other people's lives being taken away from them. So, um, again, thank you so very much. Your activism is greatly appreciated. And it's not just the Green Party that is appreciating your activism at all. It is people from all over the world that you may not have even thought of. So, definitely a round of applause. And it's not for, some people don't like to be thanked for their activism. Some people don't like that attaboy pat on your back feeling. And I'm here to say I get that. I understand that. And I appreciate you for advising that because we should all be doing these things. Yes, we know. And sometimes we do have to take a moment for ourselves and just say, whatever I'm doing may be enough for what I can do. And I am okay with that. And the pat on your back, the round of applause, the clap is not for anything but just to show appreciation for what you have done. So today was the end. Well, this week was filing week for a lot of the 2026 races, and we were able to see what we are up against for 2026. And so I actually received a question, and I'm going to pull it up so that I can show you guys. I'm going to read it to you guys. Sorry, my bad. I actually received a question from someone who was claiming to be a journalist. And what they were saying was they were talking about how we were not putting people on the ballot as the Green Party in North Carolina. And I'm like, I don't think that's how this really would go. So I wanted to make sure that I looked over what they were asking for and was able to provide the appropriate feedback to them. So in that case, I'm going to read it, and I'm also going to respond and let you know what my response was. My apologies. So I'm almost to it now, and I do apologize. I should have had it up earlier. But let's see. So we had a gentleman, and I won't say his name just in case. I don't want to say anybody's name. And they were just saying that they're a journalist writing a story for a pro-Palestinian outlet regarding the 2026 Senate election, which is in North Carolina here. The current senator from North Carolina that he's questioning is Tom Tillis. And he said he was reaching out for comment on the lack of Green Party candidate filed to run for the U.S. Senate seat in North Carolina. And since the deadline for filing has passed, he wanted to clarify if the North Carolina Green Party anticipated someone filing in that seat. And he said that the piece that he was writing centered around the Green Party abandoning the fight against genocide and to free Palestine to instead tactically support corporate Democrats that leadership believes are more likely to win a general election. And then he asked for any insights into our strategy or beliefs on supporting a lesser of two evils when both support genocide. And I was like, this seems a little different, but I wanted to ensure that I gave appropriate response to whatever was going on. And I believe I did just that. And I thought I had it, but it went away. Give me just a moment. I really should have brought this up. Okay, found it. Just had a lot of stuff going on, so it was kind of hard for me to locate. So, as some of you may know, some of you may not know, I am the spokesperson for the North Carolina Green Party. So when that happens and something needs to be said, addressed, or anything like that, I will be the one that would speak out about it. And that does not mean I'm just going to get up and say different things. That means that I have to talk to our party leadership and make sure I convey the message that is in line with what our party stands for. So I did go ahead and write up a statement that I'm going to read right now and let you know what it was. And I said, thank you for your inquiry. I appreciate the opportunity to address this directly and correct the record on our party's unwavering principles. Let me state this with absolute clarity. The North Carolina Green Party is consistent in its support for Palestine and the fight for a free Palestine. Our commitment is non negotiable and is reflected in our actions, not just our words. This was the cornerstone of our 2024 electoral campaigns, a commitment recognized and endorsed by the Muslim American Political Affairs Committee in North Carolina. We are and will remain a party whose anti genocide stance is rooted in consistent moral action, not political convenience. The premise that we would abandon this fight to tactically support corporate Democrats is not only false, but impossible given our foundational bylaws. There is no circumstance under which the North Carolina Green Party will endorse or provide for any campaign of any Democratic Party candidate. This prohibition has been our public position for years. We reject the lesser of two evils paradigm outright, especially when both major parties are complicit in genocide. Our commitment to anti war, anti genocide, and anti colonial principles is non negotiable. And anti colonial principles is non negotiable and is rooted in the core values of the Green Party of the US. And you can go to gp.org to find out more. And it's also rooted in the North Carolina Green Party's own platform, that is ncgreenparty.org. Our absence from this filing deadline is a direct result of undemocratic ballot access laws and our recent hard-won battle to simply exist as a recognized party in North Carolina. Here are the facts. Ballot access hurdle. State laws require a party to receive at least 2% of the vote for governor or president to maintain automatic status. Our 2024 candidates did not meet this threshold. Reinstatement as a new party. The law, however, provides an alternative. A group can qualify if it had a presidential candidate on the ballot in at least 35 states in the prior election. We presented documentation that GPUS presidential candidate Jill Stein appeared on 38 state ballots in 2024. On June 20th, 2025, the Republican-led State Board of Elections voted 3-2 to recognize the North Carolina Green Party as an official state party under this provision. The nomination mandate. As a newly recognized party, we are required by law to select our nominees for the 2026 general election through a party convention. We have until July 2026 to complete this process. Our plan is to hold that nomination convention in February or March of 2026. The filing deadline conflict. The state's filing deadline period for 2026 primary election began on December 1st and it ended December 19th at noon. Our legally mandated nomination convention occurs after this state imposed deadline. This is not a strategic choice, but a procedural reality imposed by a system designed to marginalize alternative voices. To suggest that this procedural timeline indicates a waiver of our principles is to misunderstand both our steadfastness and the structural barriers we face. If this is true, we already got confirmation from the Board of Election that we don't have to file by that deadline. There are indeed dedicated Green Party members who have expressed strong interest in running for the U.S. Senate seat currently held by Tom Tillis. They will have the opportunity to seek our party's nomination at our convention next year. Our candidate will be a voice for an immediate, permanent ceasefire, an end to U.S. military aid funding genocide, and a foreign policy based on human rights and international law. They will champion the Green New Deal, Medicare for All, and the democratic, community led solutions that both corporate parties refuse to deliver. The fight for justice in Palestine and the fight for a democratic political system in North Carolina are inextricably linked. We are battling on both fronts. So I hope this clarifies our position and our unwavering commitment. Finally, it is crucial to understand our structure. The Green Party of the United States is a federation of independent states. Any state party that supports Democrats or advocates for Zionism does so without the support of North Carolina Green Party, and their actions do not represent our members or our principles. Our path is our own, steadfast for Palestine, and a firm opposition to both parties of war and building independent people-powered politics in North Carolina. So that was the response from there. And I think that really goes to show you what third parties are up against when people know about us, but they don't know about what's happening behind the scenes. You went from somebody saying that we were kind of letting the people down by not having someone on the ballot for the deadline, but without realizing the administrative information that we had to go through, like the fight that we literally had to do just to keep us on the ballot. And so what happens when you have to have a convention, instead of being able to be in the primaries and have your name on a ballot so people can see it already, that means you're not being seen by those people who can say, hey, the Green Party is an option in there on the ballot for the primaries, or, certain other things that might happen. In North Carolina, we do have closed primaries. So that means if you are a registered Republican, you can only vote in the Republican primary. They happen on the same day, but they're going to give you all the list of Republicans. There will be no Democrats or other parties on your ballot. Same thing for the Democrats. If you are registered as a Democrat on the day of election for the primaries, then you would only get a Democrat Party sheet. However, if you are unaffiliated, and if you look at North Carolina, we have a lot of unaffiliated voters. You can choose which way you would like to go. So if you want to choose Democrat, Republican, Green Party, Libertarian, you have that option to do so. And if you're a Green Party, like, you would vote for a Green Party in the primary. And those kind of things people don't realize a lot of times, but that's also a way to say, here's my upfront support for you. This is the way that people say, okay, well, I probably didn't get in here. Maybe I can get in on the back end, or however the case may be. Otherwise, you are really stuck with running as an independent, and running as an independent means before that deadline, that filing deadline, you're going to have those signatures. Yes, I believe it's 2,500 signatures, and it depends on which race you're in to determine where you have to collect the signatures from. Because some races, if they're like state level races, you would have to get a lot more votes possibly, and you would have to get a certain percentage in each place. So it is a big deal when you're trying to run as an independent. Very, very big deal. And that's not just independents, it's also any other party trying to come in. Um, as we saw in the last election, there were two third parties that were trying to gain ballot access in North Carolina. Well, there probably were more, but the two main ones were PSL and the party that was started by Dr. Cornel West. So I do not believe, well, I know that neither one was able to secure the appropriate ballot access as far as I know of. I could be wrong about Cornel West. I believe he might have been able to, but I cannot say for sure. Um, but this is the thing that third parties have to go through. They have to jump through hurdles in order to get on the ballot. And let's take Texas for an example. In Texas, they don't have the same rule that North Carolina has in order to keep a party in on the ballot. So in Texas, they will say, well, if you run for these seats or any, countywide, statewide office, if you get at least this percentage, then you can be on the ballot for 10 years. That's awesome. You don't have to worry about ballot access for 10 years. That's like a lot. But when you have to constantly keep trying to get ballot access and a state will only give you maybe 4 years or something like that, that's kind of withering down your resources before the election even begins. So if you think about it, most people come into their campaign and they want to get off the ground running. They want to get everything going. They need to have, their campaign website, social media up and running because social media is such a big thing. They need to start having physical things up and running, events that they're going to, ways to reach out to the community. However, when you are having to spend a bulk of your resources ensuring that you have ballot access, you are doing a lot in order to just simply be on that ballot. It could be up to 15 to 25% of your resources. And if you're looking at it from a Green Party standpoint, we don't take corporate donors. So all the corporations that would love to give everybody money so they could put that nice little patch on their NASCAR jacket, we don't have corporations on our NASCAR jackets. We have Nancy from Tulsa. We have Gidge from Seattle. We have those types of people, but we don't have corporations. We are a people powered party. And so when you have those limitations as far as being a people powered party, yes, we're not blaming that because we want to be this way. We want to be accountable to the people as public servants versus being accountable to corporations as our overlords. So we fight against that in every sense of the word. And with us doing so, people will realize, hey, maybe this is where I need to go, And the other thing is, we have to talk about the public spending for the elections because the Democrats and Republicans have worked together so much, whether people want to know it or not. The Democrats and the Republicans come together and they make these laws state by state about who could be on the ballot and how they can get on the ballot and when they can get on the ballot and where they can get on the ballot. They're all made up by the two major parties that act as one to keep every other party off the ballot. So say, for instance, like we had in a lot of places, because we had to get on a lot of ballots last year in the Green Party. And Jill Stein and Dr. Butch Ware, well, Dr. Jill Stein and Dr. Butch Ware, let me say that, they did a lot of work traveling across the country, making sure that the ballot access they needed in the states were done and that they were visiting the states that needed their presence to help boost that voter participation. So some states require a huge chunk of money just to be on the ballot. Think about New York. Okay. If you look up what happened to the Green Party in New York, as far as getting on the ballot versus what happened to RFK Jr. as far as getting on the ballot, you would know that there is a big difference. And I'm going to try to read you an article that I found. Uh, and the fact that RFK Jr. dropped out just made it even worse. Made it even worse, especially since he has worms in his brain. You know, that kind of made it like, what in the world? Okay, so he was on the ballot, as many people know, but he stopped his campaign, and then he wanted to get back on, and Supreme Court denied him. Um, so when he was running, he had the money to get on the ballot in New York. Okay. Um, However, this company called Clear Choice Action, or maybe not a company, maybe a group, not sure, but they are aligned with the Democratic Party. They went to state court to challenge his placement on the ballot. Notice he got um, signatures and they were valid, but he had the money to do so. Okay. So going from there, um, the state board of election voted to put him on the ballot. The only thing that kept him off the ballot is that this clear choice action stated that he had listed his place of residence as a house in Katona, New York, where he rents a room from a childhood friend and has stayed overnight just once. But his real home, which is what they were arguing about from Clear Choice Action, is in Los Angeles. So, one of the New York court ruled that he could not appear on the state's ballots because the address listed on his nomination petition was a sham address that he assumed for the purpose of maintaining his registration and furthering his own political aspirations in New York. So the state's highest court rejected his appeal, and New York Board of Elections certified a ballot for the November election that did not include his name. And he went to the Supreme Court with it, and they said the same. So notice that he got all the signatures, right? I said he got all those signatures, and I said he had money. And we were start talking about Jill Stein, right? And that's what we were talking about. So Jill Stein did not make that presidential ballot access. So remember, he said that he got all his signatures allocated. Remember, we're talking about ballot access here, okay? So the Green Party presidential candidate, Dr. Jill Stein, and this is coming from Spectrum News One. If you wanted to get that article and go through it, it's Spectrum News One. Jill Stein would not appear on the ballot in New York because the commissioners of the board held a hearing to rule on all the petitions submitted by independent and third-party candidates for president. In New York, for a candidate to appear on the ballot that does not have the backing of one of the parties with automatic, hear that, automatic ballot access, a candidate must submit 45,000 signatures or 1% of the total number of votes in the prior gubernatorial election, whichever is less. So when they actually counted the signatures, there were 34,104. And then they said she also failed to submit an elector list. Other third parties candidates were rejected. And appearing on the ballot would be President Joe Biden, President Trump, and they took RFK Jr. off, sorry. So initially he was on there, but just like what happened with Kamala, what happened with Kamala, She was not originally on these things, and they had automatic ballot access. So with her, with the Democrats having automatic ballot access and they not having the switch done in time, President Joe Biden's name was supposed to appear. Whether or not that changed, that is up to New York State to decide. But it did happen in a few places. Some places that you really did have to write in a candidate's name. And that was done in a lot of these states. And what some people don't also realize is that you have to get a certain amount of votes in order for your write-in candidates to count. Even and even so, if you are a write-in candidate, sometimes they don't allow it. So the struggle that third parties have getting on the ballot in each state is humongous. And I know that the Green Party US, the National Party, has a ballot access committee, which does a phenomenal job trying to get and maintain ballot access across the states. So, with appearing on 38 ballots last year, that gives us a good way to move into 2026. So I'm looking up the other article that I had, and I wish I could put articles up on the screen. That's why I was talking about going with the different type of platform. And that's kind of where we were going with this. We're talking about ballot access and how it affects third parties and what they're able to do. And then we're going to talk about what are some ways that we can go away from those things and get better out ballot access. So I'm almost at that point where I was able to pull this up. And one of the things that we have talked about is also the steadfastness of supporting Palestine. Um, we don't just support Palestine wholeheartedly, we also support Sudan, and we support what's going on in Congo and any other place that is under colonialism and war. Okay. So there are differences. Please believe there are differences. And we have to understand what the differences are and where it can come from. Like with Sudan, you look at Sudan and you're like, oh, what's going on over there? It doesn't seem too great or whatever. And they're supposed to be having a ceasefire, blah, blah, blah. But then you think about it and you follow the money and see where it goes. Like Hamilton said in the play, and once you follow that money, you're like, oh, the UAE, Dubai. Oh my goodness. And you realize that they're the gold capital over there, but they have no gold in their area. So why would a place have more gold some in their area than the place that they're getting gold from? Why wouldn't that area be able to prosper and be great as the people that are taking the gold from them? And that can only be because this is a form of enslavement. You have children as young as 18 months digging mines, and in the Congo, you have them digging coltan, and it is extremely bad for their health. You can see the different things that are going on with their bodies because they don't have proper equipment to do what they need to do. So we have to constantly look and see what can be done for all of these places, because believe it or not, the Green Party is not just restricted to the US. There are Green Parties in other countries, including Haiti. There's a Green Party in Haiti, and I believe there's a Green Party in Palestine now. So when you're looking at stuff like that and you're like, well, what can the Green Party do for me? We're not just right here in the US, we're worldwide. And we do talk to each other. Now, sometimes we don't always get along. I know during the last election, we were like, we don't like some of the things. And that's okay, because there are certain laws in certain countries that we don't do over here. There are certain countries that say, hey, if you drink a glass of wine with your parents at 16, that's fine. And there are laws here that said that's still not fine. You're not 21. Can we be mad at their laws? Yeah, we could be mad. We could say it's they're too young to drink, but what are we supposed to do about it? That's their country. Don't go there if you don't like it. We can talk to them, but again, that's the laws of their country, and they are more adept as to what they need versus what we think they need. And that's pretty much the difference when we're looking at it. So, like I said, we are going to talk about um, the struggles that the third parties have in the US, because they do face significant system hurdles and in order to appear on the ballot. And the system is largely designed by and for the Democrats and Republicans. So when I was looking through this and I was trying to pull examples from the different states and trying to look at the recent experiences, because they will give you a vivid illustration about the challenges and the potential paths that we can use to reform them. So, one of the struggles that we have is what we call patchwork of state laws. So, each state sets its own rules, creating a complex, costly maze. Major party candidates often get automatic access, while third party candidates must qualify for each new cycle. So we talked about that as far as the Democrats and Republicans getting their automatic access, while we would still have to go out and get signatures. So with us, we have to navigate through 50 different sets of rules. And we have to petition. Not only that, we get challenges from the Democrat Party to sue us. So people have to also understand that when we do these things, again, it's not just we're trying to collect signatures, we're getting sued off of ballots. Literally getting sued by the Democrats off of ballots. It happened in North Carolina. So I can tell you, it does happen. It happens. Then you have the onerous signature requirements. Many states demand tens of thousands of signatures, often within a very short window of time and with strict rules that are only there for non-prime. Well, like they have strict rules that you could get votes from only non-primary voters or something like that, or independent voters. You can get signatures from them. So, an example of that is like in California, a minor party must collect 75,000 signatures from residents willing to switch registration. An independent candidate needs 219,000 in order to get in. In Texas, a minor party must gather 81,000 signatures in 75 days. So you can start seeing that huge block of just getting the ballot. And that requires a lot of effort. I did see someone where I live trying to get ballot access. And one of the things that I saw is that they sent a letter to me in the mail. I'm a registered Green Party member. And they said, "Dear Green Party member." And I was like, "Oh, okay, they're talking to me. They must be somebody that's planning to run for the Green Party." And they had a pre-stamped envelope. They had a signature collection page and said, if you didn't mind going out and collecting these signatures and mailing it back to us. That's great. That's wonderful. If I was on your side, that's something I would probably do. However, when I looked into this person, their background said nothing. They didn't have any policies that they were standing for. They were literally just showing I'm running. And when I asked why run as an independent versus running for the ballot as the Green Party, they said she just wanted to be independent. So I said, okay, if you don't have anything for me to vote for you with, why would I sign that paper? And that's how that went. So then you have early and uneven deadlines. Filing deadlines can be many months before the election, forcing early resource commitment. See what we were talking about? So you can have deadlines early, like as early as November or February prior to the election. It just really depends. So when you have limited resources, you also have a grassroots burden because signature gathering is expensive. So we try to go with volunteers. Some people get stipends for like gas or things like that. We try to go with volunteers because having a staff for these things, again, we're a people powered party. So we just always kind of have short, limited staff. And when you have that going on with somebody that is just trying to get their feet up off the ground and get into it, then it takes a lot of time. And even Jill Stein noted, as Dr. Stein noted, that getting on the ballot is a costly and labor intensive endeavor, and that requires a lot of grassroots support. Sorry. And then there, what I talked about again, legal challenges and major party opposition. So most of the time, when I've seen third parties getting sued, it has been the Democratic Party. They will often file lawsuits to block access and they will cite technicalities. So, for instance, in Wisconsin, there was a DNC employee. They filed a complaint arguing that the Green Party could not nominate presidential electors, seeking to remove it from the ballot. What? In Georgia, a judge removed Dr. Jill Stein and Cornel West after Democratic lawsuits, though they were later restored. North Carolina, we had Matt Howe, who was supposed to be on the ballot. The Democratic Party sued and we countersued. They lost and they had to pay us back. Do we have to get paid back all of the fees that we spent on the lawyer? No. Did it cost them much? No. Did it take away from their candidate's ability to get what they needed? Absolutely not. But it took money from us, and that money would be needed to continue with the election. And another thing that we have is the winner take all system. Okay. So what you have, even if you get on the ballot, the single seat plurality win system makes it nearly impossible for a minor party to win seats, and that discourages both voters and candidates. Okay. So the Fair Vote article, if you look at it, it's a winner take all system, and it says they are notoriously hostile to the success of third parties. So what can we do to stop this from happening? Well, legislative reform. Okay. States could lower signature thresholds, extend deadlines, and create uniform rules. So you're not navigating 50 state rules to do something, especially for federal elections. So there are some advocacy groups like Ballot Access News that push for fairer laws. Some states have eased rules for minor party, like Florida recognizes parties with FEC registered national committees. Great. That's wonderful. There's litigation. Courts can strike down overtly restrictive laws as violations of the First and 14th Amendment. And the Green Party has engaged in legal battles in Wisconsin, Georgia, and North Carolina, like I said, to defend our ballot status. And we just did this 2 times within the last 2 years. So it's really something else. Building party infrastructure. What we have to do is sustain our grassroots organizing. And that would help us meet our signature requirements and maintain ballot lines through electoral performance. So that would be something that falls on our National Ballot Access Committee because they coordinate the state by state efforts, which is something that they do pretty well, considering we were able to get on 38 state ballots last year. So we also have fusion voting, which allows multiple parties to nominate the same candidate, gives minor parties a way to demonstrate support without spoiling. I don't like the spoiler language because we're not spoilers. They wouldn't have voted for you anyway. And neither would I. And this is used in a few states, like New York, and it lets minor parties cross-endorse major party candidates and retain ballot lines. However, we don't do that. We don't endorse corporate overlords. So we would never. But what we would do and what we do support is, you guessed it, ranked choice voting. We talked about ranked choice voting. I'm going to talk to you about it some more one of these days because I think it is very, very good for us to talk about. Ranked choice voting reduces that little spoiler effect that they're talking about. It takes away that stigma and it lets voters support us without wasting their vote or thinking that they're wasting their vote. So this has been adopted in Maine, Alaska, California, where they have ranked choice voting, and it is gaining momentum as a reform that benefits third party candidates. So let's say, for instance, you have four people on that are running for office. So on your ballot, instead of being able to choose only one, you would rank these people. Okay. You would rank them first, second, third, and fourth, or first, second, third, fourth, however you wanted to do that. And what would happen is, since you've already voted, however you're going to vote, let's say in the first round, nobody gets over 75%. Well, the person with the least, they get kicked out. Okay. And for the second round, if nobody gets under 35%, the person with the least, they get kicked out. I don't know how I'm doing my fingers like this. Is so weird. And so for this round right here, if they don't have over that 75%, then somebody else get kicked out, the person with the least. And then you are left with that top person. So there is no spoiler involved because, well, I'm going to say spoilers. There's no spoiler involved because you got the opportunity to rank the people in the way that you wanted to. So if you didn't like two of the candidates, you can even not rank them. You cannot put them up there. Absolutely, that is a thing. You cannot rank them. You can rank and you can have only one person. But some people will tell you that that's not always the best thing to do because it takes away from certain areas. But when we do the ranked choice voting one, I do have a friend. He used to come on the TikTok show a lot, Political Mike, and I will have him on the show so we can divulge more into the ranked choice voting and things. And Michael Dublin, he's running for Congress here in North Carolina. He actually went to a Better Ballot Access seminar, and he talked to people about how having ranked choice voting is something that we need. So it's not just ranked choice voting, that's one step. But the second part of that is proportional representation. And why that matters is that proportional representation will allocate legislative seats in proportion to votes. So that enables third parties to win representation even with minority support. Okay. So if you want to know more about that, there is a fair vote. And they say that it is the most important structural change for third party success. So let's say, again, you got four people on the ballot, right? All right. So we know that this one won in the end, right? And they had 75% at the end. Okay. So let's say they had 10 and that would make it 85, 95 because they had 10 and this person had 5. So they get proportional representation, meaning they're going to get 75%. They're going to get 10, 10, and 5. So everybody gets, some kind of way in there. That's how it works. So when we're talking about the struggles that the third parties face in gaining that ballot access, they are actually already embedded deeply in state laws, resources, and the winner-take-all electoral system. And that kind of, people talk about the electoral college. Yeah, we need to change that too. Absolutely. When we were having our voting experience in 2024, there were burdensome signature requirements, early deadlines, and legal challenges from Democrats that do highlight those systemic barriers. I think that a lot of people learned just how hard that process was. And when you have two genocidal parties that care more about someplace else than they do about the people in America that pay their taxes to have them representing them. It goes to show how much we can't rely on them. But we keep voting for them because we don't feel like we have another way out. And they have basically ensured that we don't have another way out. And that is a question. So while litigation and the grassroots organizing, it can provide us with a tiny bit of temporary relief, because I mean, it is tiny. Lasting change is going to require things like structural reform, um, ranked choice voting, that proportional legislative representation, and we do have to do some legislative changes. So, doing so overall will create that level playing field. And if you look at the difference between equity and equality, if you've seen those pictures before, it's like all the different tallness of the people, and equality is given all of them the same step in order for them to look over the fence. But since they all have different heights, only a few of them are able to look over the fence. But equity gives everybody the step that they need to put them at the height to make sure that they can see over the fence. And there's the difference. It doesn't matter if I'm 6'2", well, if they're 6'2" and I'm 5'2", you give both of us a block, they're definitely going to see more than I can. Okay, definitely. When they're on their soapbox, they're going to get all the way to the back. When I'm on my soapbox, I'd still the same. Still the same. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't matter. So we do have to make sure that we are looking at these things in the way that it gives us that feeling that we can actually do these things. We can change. And these changes, they're not only going to help third parties like the Green Party, but they also expand voter choices and democratic competition. Because what are you scared of? Why are you suing us to get us off the ballot? What are you afraid of? And people always come to us and say, oh, y'all are trying to take away the votes from the Democrats and blah, blah, blah. We're not. Actually, the people that we are reaching out to are the disenfranchised, the disgruntled, the unaffiliated voters. They are people who actually believe in the same values that we do. Because, like I said, with this person who's like, oh, no, you're not supporting the Palestinian cause anymore. Oh, yes, we very much are, but we have to go through a different process. But we still are standing steadfast. Free Palestine. Okay? So when we talk about those different things, we have to be upfront and honest and let people know exactly what we have going on. And it becomes a beautiful thing when we stand together. Standing together means I do this a lot with Edie and Scott. They do the Illinois Green live stream. And I have never been to Illinois before, mind you, but they are on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, well, it's just 7 p.m. Central. And then they are on Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. And they have on Wednesdays, they usually interview somebody. And on Saturdays, they will do kind of like a news overview with the Green Party look to it. So when they are doing theirs, I fully support what they're doing, because that's getting the voice out that we need to get out. Sometimes they will have candidates up there. I've been up there. So we're not in the same state, have not met them face to face, but I still like, share, comment, participate with things that they have going on. And it's not just them, it's with California, it's with anybody that has a platform that they're trying to get out there. I know Justin Philippe is running, and there are other people that are running. So when I see them, I'm like, hey, go check them out because they're great. If I'm sharing it on my social media, I'm not sharing it to my immediate family members because I'm telling them about it. But I am sharing it for those people who might live in those states or live in a surrounding state or would just like to help. And usually I don't do like the donation pages or anything like that, but I share like the little things that they would talk about. Um, and there are reasons that I don't share the donation stuff, but for the most part, it's because I can't. I wish I could, but I can't. However, I do know that I share, like, share, comment on their things, and working together in that social media space. Even if you can't spend a dime or a dollar, working together in that social media space means so much because it can give somebody the boost that they need to get more people to have eyes on their campaign. So if we weren't running anybody in North Carolina, which was the assumption because nobody filed as a Green Party member, if we didn't have any candidates running in North Carolina, well, South Carolina is right there, and Georgia is right there, Florida is right there, Maryland, Virginia, DC. We have all these places, Tennessee, everywhere, all these places around us that we can help with other candidates who might be running race. I think one of the most polarizing races that we're going to have um, is a ranked choice vote race. And I'm not saying that this is the only best race in the world because I am the campaign manager for Michael Dublin. So of course I'm a little biased. He's the best person out there for the job. However, um, the person that I'm talking about is Butch Ware. And the reason I say that is because when you look at the race he's running for governor of California. And they have ranked choice voting at the primary level. So they actually have an opportunity for Butch Ware, Dr. Butch Ware, to be in that top percentage in order to be on the primaries. Well, not tomorrow, I'm sorry, on the ballot in November. So people are starting to listen, pay attention to what he is doing in California. And they've been doing it for a very, very long time. And I always wonder where these polls come from because I've never been asked these questions. So I feel like if you haven't asked somebody like myself, then you probably aren't asking the people that are actually going to vote for stuff. Um, and with his campaign, there's a possibility because at the primary level, they only take the top two. And what in a video that he showed, the first person got a majority of the votes, and the second person barely got like 12% sometimes. So it's a possibility that he could be going up against a Republican or a Democrat, but not both if he gets on that ballot in November. So he would be efficiently shutting out one of the major parties. And that is why his election is so, so important. That would be a first, probably, to have a primary with Democrats and Republicans, Green Party members, Libertarians, blah, 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 blah. And then to have one person from the two major blockhead parties against Dr. Butch Ware. Amazing. Whom, by the way, is standing for Palestine, is standing for Sudan, who is standing for the Congo, who is standing for ICE out of everywhere, who is standing for free healthcare or Medicare for all. Either way it goes, but it's not corporate, that's for sure. Who is standing for lineage-based reparations, who is standing for the Californian people. And I hope they're Californian. I think that's what they go by. Not really sure. But this will be a great race to watch, and it will be a great thing to volunteer for if that is something that you would like to do. I plan on doing some volunteer stuff for his campaign at some point in time. But like I said, I'm the campaign manager for Michael Dublin, so I got my own campaign to run over here, which is awesomely amazing. And I think you can, let me just make sure I got the website. I will point you out to the website for Butch Ware. The website, his campaign website is Butch Ware, the number 4, govgov.com. So that's butchware4gov.com. And for Michael Dublin's campaign, that is Dublin, the word for FOR, Congress.com. Dublin4Congress.com. So you can check those two gentlemen out. They're doing such a wonderful job. And Edie from the Green Live Stream, she's actually running for lieutenant governor in Illinois. So we do have some folks out there that are doing some wonderful things. Um, so once we have more of the information out about who is actually running for office for the 2026 elections, I will drop the tea with you right here because I want you all to know, just in case you need to go back and run tell somebody, hey, we don't have to vote for the lesser of two evils. We don't have to vote for the genocidal parties. We don't have to vote for the backstabbers of both the people that vote for them. Literally, they backstab every single voter, everyone. We can actually vote our conscience, our morals, our values. Vote for that instead of voting for the same old, because it's not working anymore. We're not getting any better, but we can get worse. If you think that whatever's going on in these other countries cannot happen right here, I think with the military and National Guard being deployed in civilian areas, mind you, I think that's a good way to let us know that whatever's happening there can and indeed will happen here. We always look at these third world countries like they are less than us, but we don't take a step back to look at the fact that we have homeless problems, we have children starving, and we have a lot of healthcare issues, and we're not paying for that. Yet our taxes are going towards another country being able to have affordable free healthcare for them. They get affordable or free education. They get even trips to go see the place that they want to see because they want to know if they want to live there. And that's on our dime. Yes, it is. And I'm talking about Israel. Yes, I'm definitely talking about that because if they can have universal health care that is almost free, what is stopping the US from doing it right now? Nothing. But I'll tell you what, it's not a really big secret. The reason is because everyone would have it. Everyone would have it. And if everybody has access to that health care, then it is equitable. And they don't want that. They don't care about that. They don't care about that at all. Okay? That top 5% up there, they don't care about us. One person said on this meme that there are 500 billionaires in the world, and the rest of us are just staff. Yeah, and that's kind of like what it is. It's really just like that until we say no. So to those countries that are fighting back against their government from taking over and doing those things, keep going. You know what you need for your country and your community. To the people who are out there standing in solidarity with any marginalized group, thank you. We see you. We appreciate you. To the voters who will be going out for the primaries and in November, just remember, you can change the course of Congress. You can change what happens in the White House, and you will not be changing it with the two major parties because they work for each other. All you have to do is go to APAC Checker, AIPAC, and you will see how much money is given to both Republicans and Democrats. Cory Booker, I see you. Yeah. You can see how much money is given to both Republicans and Democrats alike from that one pack. And you can look back at the last election and see that they put up members of their own party backing with AIPAC just to get some of those members out of office because they would not support Israel. So Israel is definitely influencing our politics while there are people having a better life off of our tax dollars. And if that's something that you can go along with, by all means, vote the way that you have been voting. But if that's something that you can't get down with, go to gp.org, find your state party, and get involved because that's what we need right now. And that tea is piping hot. So until next time, my friends, I will see you. Happy holiday, or as we call it at my house, Muffins Day, because we are the Muffins. So not a long story, it's just all our names mixed up together. Anywho, I hope y'all have a wonderful day. I will see y'all next week. Ciao, Bella.